Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. So here we are in our last week of Pride Month, and I am coming to you today to tell you all of the things that people in the LGBTQIA+ community should be hearing. I don't remember in my lifetime there being a quite so dramatically anti-queer Pride Month. So the reason that I want to do this video is because I want you to hear the things that you should be hearing. So here we go. Number one, I need you to understand that you are valid. And not valid in a way that's like, I hear you, you are valid, I support you. I mean, I do. All of those things are true, but in the way that I really need you to understand this. How you view yourself and how you know yourself to be is valid because it is your experience and it is your body and it is your personhood. You know who you are better than anyone else. You live in you. That makes you the expert. How you view yourself is valid. How you present yourself to the world is valid. Therapeutically, I tend to differentiate sometimes between valid and true. The feeling that you may have that says no one likes you is valid, but it may not be true. What I'm saying with validity here, though, is that you know your truth of who you are. You know how you want that to play out in your life. If you don't know yet, then you need to know that you have the right to figure that out. And the way that you do that is also valid. I want to apologize to you for any time anyone has ever made you feel like you have to be different from who you are in order to make them more comfortable. That leads me to the next one. You don't have to change, but you can if you want to. This is twofold. First of all, you never need to change yourself to fit someone else's understanding. It is not your responsibility to make other people feel comfortable in themselves. It is your responsibility to make you feel comfortable in yourself and to become the person that you want to become. The second half of that, you can change if you want to, really does harken a lot back to the label conversation that we had last week. If you change your label or you change the way you define it, or your understanding of other people evolves, your understanding of yourself evolves, whatever it is that goes into you changing how you present yourself to the world as a whole is valid and also more than okay because it's you. Change, don't change, do it for you. You never have to change who you are or how you put yourself out there into the world for someone else's comfort. I find this happens a lot with the queer community. It also happens with women, queer or not. And I think it happens a lot with men. We just haven't figured out a way to help them to name those things. There are always going to be times where we feel like we need to be less us than we are for someone else's comfort.
Take up less space.
Be less loud. Don't have an opinion.
Don't draw attention to yourself because then people ask questions.
All of those things are changing ourselves for other people's comfort. If you change yourself to be quieter, take up less space, less attention because it's a safety situation, physically or emotionally, that's different because that's for you. Valid. Don't do it for someone else. Number 3, for people who have ever been in interaction with Christians specifically, but any religion that has told you that as a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, you are wrong or sinful or unnatural, these are not true. You do not have to subscribe to any religion to have heard this. But I know especially for people who grew up in a religious environment, they heard this stuff all the time. It led to delayed understanding of self. It led to depression, to anxiety, to confusion about who you are and the validity of you being you, and all of these other things that could have been avoided had someone just said what people say exists in scripture is not actually what it says. You can be queer and also be religious. You can also be queer and not want anything to do with religion. But understand that the things that the religious communities around us have said to put you into this misunderstanding of who you are, all of those were wrong. If you believe in a maker, believe that you are loved by that maker. If you do not believe in a maker, well, you should still believe that you are loved because you are. Number 4, you are lovable. This is one that comes from years and years and years of heteronormativity and compulsory heterosexuality. People in the queer community grow up believing that they are unlovable. You see people all of the time. You do not have to go very far within the community to find the story of someone who was kicked out by family members because they came out to them, or maybe the family they lived with had zero problems and the whole coming out process was beautiful, but extended family or friends dropped them when they came out. That causes people to carry the message that they're not lovable unless they fit into someone else's expectations. That is untrue. If people do not love you for revealing who you are to them, if you let somebody in and they say no thank you, that's on them. That is not about you. You are lovable, and I'd be willing to bet you're loved even if you don't necessarily feel it right now. Number 5, there is no rule that says you have to figure it out. And I mean this for labels. I mean this for identity. I mean this for what does my relationship need to look like now? You don't ever have to figure it out. You don't have to put sense to any of it unless you want to. And if you want to, then you start figuring things out. That goes along with number 6, which is there is no timeline. There is no such thing as early in life or later in life or too early or too late or to this. There's no to any of this because there's no timeline. You are living your life. You do not need to regret things in your past that made you who you are. But also, you're allowed to regret things in your past if you feel regret for them. Your life is yours and it gets to be yours. I love having the opportunity to do this video, and I hate that it is even necessary. It is unfathomable to me that we live in a world where it is still fine in so many people's eyes to be debating the existence of people. When it is your existence someone is debating, that's trauma. That trauma is not your fault. It should never have happened. It should not still be happening, which is until discrimination ends, it doesn't end, which sounds silly, I know. But understand, as a whole, our society still believes that it is okay to discriminate against certain people. I genuinely wonder sometimes what it would look like if those in the queer community stopped infighting and just started saying, humans are humans, humans are valid. The idea that in 2021, it is still necessary to fight these fights, to be recognized as a human who is worthy of existence and rights just for being human. When we have so many states that are still saying you cannot adopt as a same-sex couple, to have so many places saying it goes against my moral code to treat you or to work with you or to sell a product to you is ridiculous. And that leads me to our last one. You are beautiful inside and out. Every human is beautiful. Do not allow people to take that from you. Don't allow people to remove your worth from you just because they don't understand how life works. When people attempt to take from others, they are doing it from a place of scarcity in themselves. That is no excuse to remove someone else's civil rights. Understand. But the reason I'm telling you that is so that you understand that it is not about you. You did not provide that place of scarcity for them. You did not remove from them whatever it is that they're so hurting over. They need to hurt you too. You did not bury their head in the sand while injustices are happening to people right in front of them. It is not your fault. Well, that's it for today, and that's a wrap on our Pride Month series. Also, I hope that you have enjoyed it. Next month, we'll be diving back into the regions of religious trauma and maybe going through some of the things happening in the bigger denominations in the world. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you next week with another video, and until then, take care of yourselves and each other.